Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pharmaceutical Soccer. So happy to be here with you in these happy Nashville SC times. I, of course, am here with Clay Trainum, Valer Shabila, as always. It's a pleasure to see you both. Before we get into the Nashville soccer talk, because that is the best talk that we could possibly have this week, Clay, I just want to give you a heads up that Valer and I did take a vote, a 2-1 vote before the show started. We are not talking about anything Premier League teams related. We did take a vote on this, and you understand how the show
Valer's
works.
team didn't play in the Premier League this weekend, so I don't see why he would care about
But
that.
I'm saying our Premier League teams specifically. He still roots for a team, and we decided to not talk about
Valer
that.
had a great Premier League weekend. Tottenham lost.
To be honest with you guys, I don't know what you're talking about. As many people know, I am a shill for the corporation that is Major League Soccer. And that's the
Also
only soccer I recognize. Anything that calls it football is inauthentic. And I do not support anything with football club in it.
Well, cool, because the English called it soccer for most of its existence.
Also true. Thank you.
They don't
always my biggest thing. England came up with soccer.
But they don't call their teams soccer clubs, and that's why they shouldn't be recognized. And that's why I do not support any team anywhere. I'm just a shill for Major League Soccer, the beautiful game that exists within Don Garber's head.
Hey, Joel, Omari, please clip that entire last 20 seconds.
I will say this: some English soccer teams do use AFC for, like, AFC Bournemouth, which means Association Football Club. And I do believe that Valer does have a hankering for something called AFC. But speaking of that, I did get a nice bit of afternoon soccer for once in England, Stephen.
I don't know. Again, we took a vote. We're not talking about it.
Well, I'm about to, because Everton beat the living breaks off of Chelsea.
Yeah, we're not in a good spot, by the way. It is not terrific. Not great. Not great.
I mean, is he Beto? Is he Henry? I don't know. It depends on if he's playing Chelsea.
It's ridiculous. It's fine. Hey, the University of Michigan made it to the Sweet 16. Big Ten podcast.
8-0 for Clay on aggregate on Saturday. What a day.
Valer, how was your weekend?
I think we're just past the weekend bit for this one. I think this is enough. I've heard all about it. We're good. Let's move on. Nashville SC, huh? Big win.
Valer and I did go see, weirdly, we went and saw Project Hail Mary at the same time yesterday.
But we didn't know the other was going to watch it.
Had no idea.
And our show times were 10 minutes apart.
Guys, that's like people who are dating from a distance go see the movie at the same time.
Absolutely. I've done that multiple times.
Long distance relationships.
That's exactly
what a lovely thing you guys do.
I've been doing long distance podcasting with Steven for a minute now, I guess. So that's
so now we've gotten to that point. It was great. Go see Project
Hail Mary.
Look
outside and look at the moon and know that Valer is looking at the same moon.
As you can tell, the spirits are pretty high, I guess. Those who went to Geodis Park or those who enjoyed Nashville SC, I think would have who enjoy Nashville SC in general would have enjoyed Saturday's game, I think, if you can't tell from the intro to this podcast.
I was about to have an extreme stretch of a segue with Project Hail Mary, so I appreciate you interrupting me, Valer, in that, because you're right. It would have been embarrassing. So thank you for doing that.
Is that
anyway,
all you had to say?
Yeah, I'm not actually gonna say it now. That'd be ridiculous.
Okay.
Yeah, spirits high, obviously. First this week, and this is crazy. This week, first of all, it was a draw, but we got past Miami to move into the CONCACAF Champions Cup quarterfinals, and then, of course, going to beat Orlando 5-0. Besides winning the Open Cup, is this the best week in just Nashville SC history, potentially?
I mean, in terms of like a regular season, sure. I guess. I still think like it hits different when it's a playoff. It hits different. I mean, that League Cup, those 2 weeks in the League's Cup, where leading up into the final where it was Club America, Monterey, the 5-0 over Minnesota, beating Cincinnati when Cincinnati was flying high. Like, that whole run into Leagues Cup is like the highest morale I've probably ever had before the US Open Cup. So
I
it's
also
pretty
think the
hard to top.
2020 playoffs run is slept on because nobody was there to see it in person.
Oh
But
man,
that
that
was
win over
exciting,
Toronto.
especially
Yeah.
like I would say even like beating Miami in that first round was like really exciting because Tex McCarty like smoking Matweedy is like all the stuff that came up out
And
of
then
it.
there was a
Like
fight in the parking lot. Like, what a
yeah,
great
like I,
time.
I thought that was pretty. But I mean, Steven, I don't think it's far from the best week in Nashville. Honestly, I mean, I think what it's not just the results, right? It's also the way they're going about their business. I think that's kind of adding to the excitement. And then, man, you can
Right.
feel it in the street. You can feel it at Geodis Park for sure. And like, I know we said we're not going to talk about this, but I went to a local establishment to watch some morning soccer in a different continent, as a lot of us do, and it's like every person that walked into the place brought up the Nashville SC game from the night before, and that's not. I mean, that doesn't happen a whole lot. And first of all, and second of all, it just kind of showcases that people were excited about it. And because they kept talking about it, and every person literally was like, "What is it?" And then the people who didn't know about it started asking, "Well, what are you talking about?" And that's kind of it built a buzz around the city. I think that just wasn't there beforehand.
I've got a piece of anecdotal evidence here. So I live in Antioch, and there are lots of soccer pitches around Antioch, both rec and whatnot. And I was walking with my wife yesterday, and we passed one of them. And normally it's pretty normal to see a bunch of kids out there playing, and you're used to seeing people in Liga MX jerseys, European jerseys, whatnot. There was one person wearing a Nashville SC jersey, which does not usually happen. And I thought that was notable. I've seen that happen a little more often, but like that was the first time I've probably seen it on that particular field. So there has been a cut through, I think, in the last few years. I mean, it's natural to see that too once a team starts winning, but it is the way they're winning. I think also it's helped by the Titans were bad, and I think that plays a big part of it. But it's been really exciting to watch it, and for the people that are in it, like the people that have been NSC fans for a long time, this is the first time where NSC also feels like a national story.
Yep.
In the soccer world. Like NSC has been a big, like they won the Open Cup, they made a playoff run, they then went to the Leagues Cup final, but it was kind of like, what a great story. They could be their tough matchup, whereas they aren't. This is a Death Star that's going to obliterate people, and that's the way people are talking about Nashville SC this year.
Yep.
I mean, and I think that's a new feeling for a lot of people.
And it's not just that; it's also like it's locally as well. It's not just the national media. If you look at the local media, and I'm not talking about us, I'm not talking about 615 Soccer. Obviously, we cover the team. We give you the best coverage of the team, and that's from an objective and subjective standpoint. So take it with what you want. But if you look at the way that local news channels, I've gone to pre-game press conferences with BJ Callahan, where it's pretty much just me and Ben and maybe Claudio as well, and that was it, and I'm not saying this as like a dig or anything like that, but I go to press conferences now with BJ Callahan, and there have been times where all four of the big channels are there, let alone the radio coverage. Obviously, one of the radio channels has the team, has the games, but even the other radio, like it's just one of those things where you're seeing the buzz. It kind of was created with the Open Cup win, and the ability to maintain that momentum through is what's difference between that and like what happened with the Leagues Cup, where there was that huge buzz, right? Messi, Nashville, final, all that, beating Mexican teams, leading up to it. Nashville's hosting a final. This is not going to happen often. There was this big, big buzz. Everybody showed up. Everybody came in. The city started to understand what's going on. And then the immediate game after that, they lost to Atlanta 4-0. So, I mean, I think that's kind of doesn't help with it. And then what we saw with the Open Cup is that BJ Callahan and his team, yeah, they had a kind of a disappointing playoffs, But to start this season with the big signing of Christian Espinosa, with these results, it's carried that buzz through.
Well, I'm curious about where you both are at with the buzz. Are we like Snoop Dogg levels of high on this? We're winning the league championship, we're winning all of the things, or like this is the funny thing about Clay. Clay is always the most optimistic person I've ever met and talked to in my entire life, but he's also the most grounded in the way a team could be performing. So, like, are we Clay levels of optimistic, or are we Snoop Dogg, Method Man making new movies about? Are we making How High 3? Like, where are we at right now?
Well, since you name dropped me, I guess I'll answer.
That was the point, Clay.
Um, so here's where I stand. I think that Nashville SC has a really good chance to advance against Club America. If Nashville SC advances against Club America, I really think it's going to be tough to be a Supporters Shield team, just because of the questions that are asked playing through CONCACAF Champions League, but then also the drop off that you get after a big tournament, which Nashville did experience last year, coming out of the Open Cup. The levels dropped a little bit, even after winning. And that happens to every team. Like, that literally happens to every team that makes these sorts of runs. And so I think that if Nashville has a deep Champions Cup run, it's hard to expect them to be a real contender for the Supporters Shield. Now, that being said, they are entering the quarterfinals of the Champions Cup in first place for the Supporters Shield, which I don't think any of us would have expected. I think we would have expected Nashville to have experienced a little bit of that drop off already of playing against Messi and Inter Miami, and it hasn't happened. And the fixtures coming out of the Supporters Shield, like they are they're kind to Nashville, these matchups over this next few months. So I am cautiously optimistic that they're in for everything that they're playing right now. I don't see any reason to say that they're not, barring injuries and things like that. I don't see any reason to say that they're not a legitimate contender for Shield and for Champions Cup right now.
I think I agree with everything Clay said. I don't think Nashville are necessarily like the Supporters Shield team at the moment, and a lot of that has to do with the Champions Cup. But look, we saw Vancouver last year. They fought for both. They made the final of the Champions Cup, and they ended up in the Supporters Shield race. Where were they? They ended up 5th in the Supporters Shield race, but they were in it because they were only 3 points behind Philadelphia. So you're looking at a team that both made the final of the Champions Cup and was in the Supporters Shield fight, a team that nobody expected to be in that position at the time. So I don't know. I can't draw too many conclusions to Vancouver. It was a different situation altogether. I think it surprised a lot of people, to where Nashville aren't surprising a whole lot of people. Maybe the results are surprising some people, but overall, I think if you saw how Nashville built their team, nobody's surprised. I personally don't value the Supporters Shield a whole lot. It's not, I don't know. It's a good measure of like how excited fans are going week to week. It's not a good measure of whether or not this team can win trophies. And to me, it's like if you can have a run at the Champions Cup, like Clay was saying, and you end up making 8 changes in Columbus, and that game ends 0-0 instead of 1-0 to Nashville, you take that risk, right? And I think that, for me, that's always going to be the risk that you take. And yes, I agree with Clay. Maybe those games before the Club America games, maybe those will end up being the losses, but or maybe a draw.
I think Charlotte is in between the 2 Club America games. That will not be Nashville's first choice against Charlotte.
Yeah, I don't think so. And it shouldn't be, right? And I mean, we saw Miami go there with their MLS Next Pro side and get 0-0. So there's no reason to assume Nashville can't do that. So I don't know. I think they are a Supporters Shield contender. I think it'd be crazy for anybody to say Nashville are not a Supporters Shield contender, but I don't think they are sort of at that high level of it, just because they do have Champions Cup.
Well, Valera, first, I just want to say thank you for saying the quiet part out loud. That you hate all supporters, you don't like anything supporters related anymore. I'm glad
Mhm.
that you just said that part out loud for
Yep,
us on
that's true.
air.
Yep.
Needed to be said that you have completely lost why we started this podcast in the first place. Good to
Yep.
hear just how soulless you are, how much of an MLS Jill you are just from your
Well,
mouth.
where are you? Where are you with this? I want to hear
Well,
from you.
Oh, Valera, thank you so much for asking. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
Steven's got Nashville winning the quadruple.
Still on the
Look,
table.
here's the thing. Well, like you
Wait,
even
what's
bring
the
up
fourth one?
the World Cup, duh.
Well, no,
So
Supporter Shield,
Oh, wait. Oh,
Leagues
yeah,
Cup,
there are four.
MLS
Yeah.
Cup, and Champions Cup. Steven's
Okay,
winning
yeah,
all four.
sorry. Okay.
but like,
It's
here's the
Monday.
deal. We're talking about Vancouver, right? Vancouver did a terrific job of making it to the final and performing in the Supporter Shield. I'm kind of the opinion that we have a deeper team than that Vancouver team
Yeah.
when it comes to our
with
team.
no injuries.
Like,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, obviously, like, and a lot of it is going to be just how we deal with injuries, what's going to happen at the end of the season, because I think the end of the season is still a question mark for Nashville SC. They're coming out hot the gate now, but is that something that is going to continue the rest of the season? Not necessarily sure how well that is going to continue the rest of the season. I think there's a lot of questions, but I do think there's a lot of optimism in seeing the way this team does play and respond in a lot of the questions that we did have. With the first one, obviously being Espinoza, how does he fit into that trio? He fits into it extremely stinking well. Like, question answered. How is Schwacke going to perform in comparison to our goalkeepers? Is he a starting goalkeeper caliber? Duh. Like, we have now answered that question too in the past matches as well. Like, is Reed Baker Whiting the signing that's going to help in the left back position? Like, all the questions that we had in the beginning are kind of being answered to the positive. So it's extremely hard to not be over the moon with this team right now and what we expect.
Yeah, and I don't anticipate anybody being like, "Oh, hold up, guys! Like, let's hold the brakes." Like, if you're at the
But I mean, like,
stadium,
if this was there would have been 15 ESPN articles about Miami right now if this was Miami in this position. You know what I mean? But it's Nashville, so it's not going to be like as much of a big deal in where they're going to be.
I see what you mean, and I actually agree with a lot of it. I'm just saying it has been 5 games in the league, and it has been 9 games total. I mean, Nashville haven't even gone double digits in terms of games. So, like, it's not about bursting people's bubbles. It's also having the right expectations. When we came into the season, what did we say the expectations for Nashville were? To fight through the supporters' shield, but make a real fight for the playoffs and for the cup. And I think that's still where the expectation should be. I don't think the expectation should be Nashville's going to go out and win everything, because I know that's what you've seen so far, but also this Nashville team without Sam Surridge went to Dallas and got a 0-0 draw that I don't know how even they pulled a draw, because Dallas should have scored. So, like, it's a little bit of a balance for me, and that's why I'm not, like, I can't just sit here and be like, "Oh, Nashville are going to be this and this and that," because I don't know. It's been 5 MLS games. Like, I don't know what's going to happen.
It's a form thing. It's definitely a form thing. I mean, we've seen this Nashville team, prior to BJ, of course, have like 10, 15 unbeaten runs, and then how did they manage 2 or 3 unbeaten the next 10, 15? I don't think this is a different team. I'm not comparing them. I'm just saying that's the way that form can work. If, somebody gets hurt or somebody, just dips a bit in form, or we haven't really seen the way injuries can affect this team. We saw that last year. Nashville was doing pretty well last year, and then suddenly had no fullbacks for a hot second, and the form dipped for the team. And so, but as of right now, there's, it is something that changes week to week. But as of right now, there's no reason to think that Nashville won't be in the fight for the Supporter Shield. But it's hard to say that they're the favorite when they have to play more matches than the other teams that they'll be going up against potentially. So
I agree with that. I mean, I think if we say as of right now, Nashville are the best team in MLS, I'm not even gonna like sugarcoat that or anything. I think that's equivocally a true statement. Like, I don't think this is, and I said this as well in like on my tweet or whatever during the game. Nashville play the best soccer in MLS currently, and I'm not even like trolling anybody. That's just the truth right now.
They might have the best front three in North America right now.
Yeah.
It's
And
like,
but the big thing is right now, and we're 5 games into the league. And I'm
exactly.
not saying, I'm not trying to burst anybody's bubble. Again, I'm just saying, like, keep that in perspective as you're looking through
No,
this.
he's trying to. Don't let him burst your bubble, ladies and gentlemen. Stick in this bubble of just beautiful. Like, don't even worry about the future. This
I
is
expect
nice.
nothing less, Steven.
We've won the supporter shield right now. Just you should act like it and celebrate it like we have.
I have one more question before we move on.
Yes.
So Valère is going to be, you're going to be in Monterey next week, Valère,
Correct.
right? Are you going to remind people of Nashville beating Monterey 2-0 at any point while you're in Monterey, or are you going to be a coward?
I did not expect that question. I think I'm gonna be a coward is the answer, because I don't know how this is gonna come up. To be honest with you,
I mean, we also, in defense of that, like, it's like, we beat them 2-0. We gave them $7 million for Ake Loba. Like, I think we're both kind of on the equal standpoint right there. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very equal scenario where it's like, it kind of worked out in both sides.
Also, I just want to say,
yes,
if you ever wanted to know the difference between how Steven and I see life and our personalities, go back to that discussion about him saying enjoy it right now and me saying, what about the future? Because that's how we are in real life. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Also, we do have a 5-star review, which is awesome to see. Thank you so much. We will read your 5-star reviews out on air if you do make one. We haven't had one in a bit, so happy to have one kind of come through. Really appreciate that. Leave a 5-star review. Do either of you? I want one of you guys to read it.
I'll read it.
Sweet, Clay. Thank you very much.
Just a reminder that if you leave a 5-star review where you make Steven talk about how much he hates Chelsea and loves Chattanooga, he is forced to read it on air.
Again, when it comes to the 2-0 Monterey.
One Apple review from Owen Grimm, author. 5-star dudes. 5-star dudes covering a 5-star team on a 5-star podcast. Still missing Steven as capo, but that's irrelevant to the podcast, so I won't take away any stars. Steven, quit your job and return to us full-time. Go NSC.
That's very, very kind. Thank you very much.
Remind me of the Beyonce song where she tells people to quit their jobs, and she doesn't understand that people can't do that, but she can. So
God, I wish.
Anyway, maybe this person can fund Steven to come back to Nashville and do capo full time, because that's what they're going for, right? Just
I would love
fund
that.
Steven. Just become a member of 615 Soccer.
That is true. That is true. I don't know if we will bring him back, but
all right.
But thank you for the review, seriously.
Thank you for the review. Thank you for the kind words. I know we all three of us appreciate it. Just getting the 5-star reviews. But we do have the Orlando match that we do need to talk about. We have a lot of goals that we need to talk about in that match, as well as an international break coming up. We're going to talk about all those next, right here on Pharmaceutical Soccer. And we are back right here on Pharmaceutical Soccer at Pharma Soccer on our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can also follow 615soccer.com. Always awesome to see. If you want to be a capo member like me and you want to be a capo, make sure you join 615soccer.com, where we do have a capo tier where you get a lot of fun, fancy stuff. It's a good time. Valère does these player ratings, and I actually read them this week, Valère, because I was happy. So very nice job, buddy. Welcome.
Well, so here's the thing with 615 Soccer. You can control your subscription, right? So first of all, you have 2 tiers, $3 a month or $7 a month, both of which are very cheap in my book, because inflation, baby, we're going high up. So look, $7, what does that even get you a month? Like, I can get a burrito with $7. I wish their burritos were $7. So, just join us first and foremost. $3, you don't even have, if I give my nephew $3, he's going to laugh at me. He can't even get anything with that, and that's my nephew. So all that said, join 615 Soccer. You'll get a lot of quality content for the money you pay. And then you get to join our Discord community as well with either tier. And I think that's been a lot of fun throughout games, away and home, and also not throughout games, like randomly. And then for Pharma Soccer, this is the best way to support this show directly is by becoming a member. But also, you can buy merch. I know Clay likes to talk about merch. What's that website, Clay? Tell the people where to go.
Pharmasoccer.com gets you some Pharma Soccer merch. Some people swear by it. Some people swear by Nashville SC's record when they're wearing Pharma Soccer merch. And so if you're not wearing Farmer Soccer merch and Nashville loses, one can only assume that it's your fault.
It's true.
So don't let it be your fault that Nashville SC doesn't win the Supporter Shield, is what I say.
But
That's how I look at it.
But say you buy Pharma Soccer merch and then Nashville does finally get their first loss, you can burn it. That's fine. You already paid for it. So
you just bought the wrong piece of merch.
I think
You got to go buy a different one.
Yeah.
You got to go buy a different one.
Yeah.
It's real
quick. Obviously, Valère and I were with Ben Wright during the week to just kind of talk about do an emergency episode of Nashville moving on from Miami past them for the CONCACAF Champions Cup. I want to give Clay the opportunity for a minute or two for that. Clay, anything else to say that we didn't talk about before we go into the match that we can talk about?
I mean, I did listen to it. I was a little bit bummed out that I missed out talking about it, but I just think that everyone, I know I've said this before, I think that everyone needs to take a moment and understand that these things aren't guaranteed. And Nashville is in the quarterfinals of a continental trophy. And this is something that's never happened for Nashville. This is something that's never happened for a lot of Major League Soccer teams. And this is something that Miami wanted to do more than anything else, and they didn't do. And it is a very difficult thing to accomplish. And who knows when Nashville will be in this situation again. And that is the way that you should approach any tournament that Nashville is in, because you never know when your next time playing for a major trophy is. And so it's very fun to beat Miami, or to advance against Miami via, the away goals rule. But I do think the biggest takeaway is that Nashville very much took it to Miami over the two legs, were clearly the better team over the two legs, and kept Miami from doing the one thing that Miami wanted to do more than anything else this year. And in doing so, accomplished something that Nashville has never done before and may not do again for a long time, and that everyone should enjoy where they are and also be very, very excited, because this Club America team is beatable.
Yep, absolutely.
And I'll leave it at that.
Well, that was beautiful. Thank you very much for that. And that takes us perfectly to, over the weekend, where you would think that, look, you had a very tough stretch against Miami. Maybe you're going to come into this week, spirits, a little high, maybe kind of coast this week against Orlando. That was not the case. Nashville did win 5-0 against Orlando. Of course, Sam Surridge getting a hat trick, a goal from Christian Espinoza, shot/cross, and a Warren Madrigal goal as well, which was absolutely beautiful. I'm not getting into it. We could sit here and debate all day, Clay. That was
100% a shot.
That was a
You're
cross.
Not crossing
absolutely
with that pace.
A cross.
You're not hitting a cross with that pace.
Yeah, he didn't mean to. It was a mishit cross. That was a shot. But anywho,
no, he's absolutely taking a shot.
In a very surprising manner. I agree with Steven.
Yes, let's go.
I don't think you're I've seen that shot. I've seen people take that shot several times. Seamus Coleman scored a goal doing the same thing 2 years ago.
So did Randall Leal. Was his a cross or a shot?
I'm talking about the exact same thing that Espinoza did.
You know who doesn't care about all that? Christian Espinoza, because he has a goal to his name. The bonus is going to hit. And guess what? Andy Nahar has an assist on that. So,
I thought it was a cross in real time. When I saw the replay, I was pretty sure it was intentional.
Which I apologize. I do see on our rundown that that's like 4th or 5th down the line. So I apologize in that. But that was just a fun conversation to have. I mean, look, Nashville won 5-0 against an Orlando City squad. Let's kind of talk about it. I think we got to talk about the hat trick first, probably. I think that's probably the first thing to talk about is Sam Surridge and the way that he's playing. Probably could have had 2 more as well at some point. Clay, I know you're trying to get something to happen. And
I believe the first point to talk about.
No, I know that's
Alex
what I'm saying.
Bobblehead night win. There have been 2 bobblehead nights, and there have been 2 bobblehead nights with attacking players, and both of them resulted in hat tricks. So I'm just saying, if this Alex Wheel Truther podcast is going to get its just desserts, we need an Alex Wheel bobblehead night so that Valer can dunk on everybody when Will gets a
I
hat
will say
trick.
this: he doesn't need a bobblehead not to score a hat trick, but it will be a good push. It will be a good push because the thing is, the assist for the goal, for Sam Surridge's goal, the assist from Alex Muyl, people are sleeping on that. People are thinking he mishit that or that the defender hit it. No, he was falling down and he laid it beautifully to Sam Surridge. And I am not trolling. I am being serious.
He's literally laughing. I'm not trolling, literally
This is
laughing
no,
and smiling more as he says it at the same
it's
time.
a really good play, and I do support the bobblehead night for Alex Muyl, but that was a given, obviously. But I think that's kind of never gonna happen, but it's all right. And we can have our voices heard here by no one, but that's okay.
Well, also, Clay, I did appreciate at first that Valer was on my side for the Christian Espinosa thing, but now I know where he stands with the Alex Mawil thing. It's almost like having the crazy person support you. I don't know if that's a
Wait,
good thing or not.
Are you against
Steven, you
Alex
bet
Muyl
that
bobblehead
Nashville
night?
is going to win all 4 trophies this year, so you can settle down on
No,
calling
I'm
anybody
sorry, and who is
Hold on.
closest to being there right
Hold
now?
on,
Me.
hold on. Just, are you against Alex Muyl bobblehead night?
No, I'm for Alex Mawil bobblehead
So
night.
all three of us are on the same side. Why are you trying to divide us? I don't understand.
I do hope that it would be like an Alex Mawil. Like, you could tell that Alex Mawil is currently trying to grow his hair back out. I hope they give Alex Mawil the credit of having his hair grown all the way back out for it.
I think that they do specials. So you got the Walker Zimmerman holding the Thor's hammer, Super Sam, with the cape, and Alex Wheel bobblehead needs to be doing Crank That Soldier Boy. Now, moving
moving
on.
Hold on. I thought you were gonna say, like, I want a ball under his armpit for the armpit goal, like as a way to remember.
I want him doing the Crank That Soldier Boy dance
while doing the Soldier Boy, a ball under his armpit. Okay.
Either way.
Well, I want it to be with Timothy Chalamet, and I want them both to be wearing ballet apparel.
Oh, no, Alex Wheel dressed as Mozart.
Okay, can we talk about the stinking game now, please?
This is much more interesting than that game was, because that game was an absolute shellacking.
Well, I'll say this. Sam Surridge continues to score at a very, very, very good rate, right? And I think a lot of it has to do with the work he's putting in. He said himself that he hasn't done anything different than last season. It's not like he's really like leveled up or anything. I think the other part, last season he scored like 31 goals. So he's really good at doing that. I think that's been proven already. But the one thing that changed this season is that there are more creators for him. And it's not just creators in terms of personnel. So it's not just having Christian Espinosa there. It's not about just that. It's also creating from different phases of play. So you look at the way Nashville scored those 5 goals, and you can see almost 5 different ways of scoring goals, whether it's transition, whether it's building up, whether it's a cross, whether it's from the middle. These things are kind of the hallmarks of what makes a team great. And when your team is at that level and you have a striker of Surridge's ability, it really levels him up in that way. So I don't think he's doing anything different. Again, he scored a bunch of goals last season. It's just the fact that the whole team is at a level that just couldn't reach last season. And that has to do with the teammates. That has to do with the team as a whole. But obviously, that has to do with tons of credit to Sam Surridge himself.
Yeah, I mean, Surridge was great in that game. Also, I do think that Orlando performance is among a bottom 2 or bottom 3 performance that we've seen from any MLS team coming in to play in Nashville. I mean, just there's not a whole lot that you could even really necessarily learn from it. That's how bad Orlando played. And part of that is that Nashville went and scored an early goal, and Orlando folded because they're a bad team that is in transition and doesn't really know what to do with themselves as they wait for Antoine Griezmann to join the dumpster fire. But it's I think that they were very lucky that it was only 5-0 on another day. That's a Nashville record-setting performance,
right?
Because it probably should have been 3 or 4 at the half, and could have easily had another. They could have easily had another 2 or 3 in the second half. I mean, it was as dominant a performance as you could get. while at the same time, I don't really feel like Nashville shifted much out of second gear either. Like, I don't really feel like they had to work particularly hard to
Right.
beat them 5-0, which says a lot for a team playing its second game in, 4 days, 5 days, whatever it was.
What
Go-
like, I'll say that, like, yeah, like, it could have been if Crapo didn't make a couple better like, he still made a couple amazing saves to actually make that something. But, yeah, Orlando, I will say, though, we've seen bad teams come to like, we've seen bad teams play against Nashville, right? Like, and
And
we've even
Crafoe's been the goalkeeper for some of them.
I know, and Crapo's been the keeper for some of them. It's very true. But I will say there's not many times that we see like the capitalization of we know we're better than you and we're going to throw it in your face type of situations. And it didn't necessarily have, I think you're right, Clay. It looked effortless because it wasn't necessarily about the individual players themselves, but it was just the style and the way the team plays. I mean, the amount of runs in countering that we had against Orlando, it's not like they didn't have, like they had possession of the ball in a lot of instances, but every time that they were throwing it on the counter, like Nashville had 4 or 5 guys compared to their 3. It was almost just like watching 5v3 trainings all day long against Orlando.
And I think a lot of us would have been annoyed watching Baker Whiting not join in the attack several of those cases where he like kind of inched forward and then backed out of it
Right.
and didn't. And I think he had a good game. Like, this isn't like a criticism. This is just more of like Nashville clearly wasn't like fully going after it like if they were chasing a goal in the way they would be in a different situation. And so like I do think that it was one of those games where it's just hard to take anything from it because it was just it was exhibition stuff basically from the 10th minute on.
I have a couple of notes, and while we're talking about the team and sort of the system, I thought that counter pressing from Nashville was insanely good. Like when you look at when Nashville went up and pressed, especially in the first like 25, 30 minutes, when Nashville went up and had the ball and they were trying to break down Orlando, who were kind of sitting back, they lost the ball multiple times trying to create something. And the quickness and ability to give that ball back, there was a period where for 6 minutes, Nashville had the ball in Orlando's final third. Like Orlando just couldn't get the ball further than their final third. That's how good the counter pressing was from Nashville, and that's a very much a team thing. You can't counter press as a one player. You can't counter press as two players. Your entire team has to be synced and has to know exactly what's going on. The second point I have to say is that my man of the match was Christian Espinoza. I know Surridge scored a hat trick. I totally understand and I respect that. And if somebody puts him as their man of the match, I get that. Like I'm not trying to say that's not true, but the work that Christian Espinoza put in for those goals, for multiple of those goals, obviously the one he scored himself, but man, that goal where he makes the run and Palacios hits the ball high and he has to fight the Orlando player, beats the Orlando player, runs in, switches the ball to Mukhtar, plays it to Muriel, Muriel plays it to Surridge. That goal is like classic Nashville counterattack, and that involves all three DPs and Alex Muriel. So all of the top four, really, if you're looking at it, like front four. I see what I didn't even mean it like that, but really, like in all seriousness, the front four, and then he had obviously just helped with the other goals as well. And I thought the other guy that I really want to give a shout out to in that match, and probably not going to get a whole lot of praise for it, is Jason Palacios. He earns that penalty first and foremost, and then he plays that ball to Christian Espinosa that I was just talking about. And overall, man, he was so solid defensively. I know it's just Orlando, but they got close a couple times. They hit the post once, all that stuff. But Palacios, I think Waleji is getting a lot of praise, and deservedly so. I mean, he's a great center back. But Palacios, man, he's been a rock at the back now 2 seasons in a row. And I think he has leveled up next to Waleji. And I think they both formed like a really, really good partnership, probably one of the best in MLS.
Well, and I think that Palacios in some ways is now in the role where he has to be the more conservative player, where Waleji has a little bit of the freedom that Palacios had last year. But I do want to say, like on a related note, like the Schwaki, of course, makes probably his best save of the season in that game.
Yeah.
And it's kind of overshadowed because it was a bad performance by Orlando, but it's a record-breaking performance for Brian Schwake in that he is now 13 unbeaten in his career as a starter. And guys, I just want you to know that if he goes his whole career unbeaten as a starter, Nashville's probably going to win a few trophies.
Yeah.
So
True.
I think it's
Confirmed that
14.
would happen.
I think
What?
it's 14 games.
It's 13. It's 13. They said they showed the 12 graphic over and over and over again before the game.
Well, as I had
But-
suggested last time, what did I say
Now
a
he
couple
should-
weeks ago?
He should retire.
He should retire. Right. Yes. Okay. That's where I'm at. End on top.
But like even with like if that goal goes in too, like momentum may not have shifted in the same way that Nashville, it may not have been 5, we may not have scored those 5 goals because momentum may have shifted in a different way and there might have been a little bit of confidence. Like I think that's seeing the defensive stability be there, seeing the goalkeeping stability be there. It's giving the ability for these front 3 in just to have a lot more freedom in what they do. And like, we're talking about Espinoza, we're talking about Sam Surridge. It sucks that Hani Mukhtar didn't get on the score sheet for that match because he was kind of the person bringing, the ball up to, to Espinoza and Sam Surridge during that entire stretch. Like of some of his passes, like it's just really fun to see how fluid, and it just fantastic this team is because of how stout this back line currently is.
And the first player that BJ mentioned when he was kind of giving out his praises was Hani Mukhtar for all the work he did off the ball and how much of the dirty running he did. That's what BJ called it, his words. And I think that stuff is going to go unnoticed maybe, but I put this in my player rating, but I am pretty positive that he is the most hardworking attacking player in the league. Like his work rate is incredible, especially in the opponent's half. And the way he just works to get that ball back, the way he works to position himself in those pockets is just incredible. And it doesn't hurt that Sam Surridge does pretty much the same thing as well, which is great.
Well, I think this is going to be an interesting year for Hani Mukhtar in terms of like the way that he's viewed, because in many ways, this is the Hani Mukhtar that Nashville signed, a guy who doesn't put up enormous goals and assist numbers, but was the straw that stirs the drink at his previous club. And then he became this huge goal scorer because Nashville needed that. And he found out, essentially, shout out to Steve Guppy, that he was unable to to be defended in MLS for a good while, but now he's in a setup that is conducive to kind of the player that he kind of always was prior to coming to MLS. And so I think you're going to see people surmise that Hani is having a down year or isn't as good as he used to be because he's not putting up the huge numbers. And to be fair, he's missed some chances that you would have backed him to get in a few of these games. I don't want to forget that, but I think like he's having great games without necessarily putting up huge numbers. And I think that that's going to be the case for a chunk of the season. He's going to get his. He's still Hani Mukhtar. He's going to get his, but he's not going to necessarily put up the huge goal scoring and assist numbers that maybe we've seen prior to this year.
Yeah, which obviously him on breakaways is something that, he's going to need to figure out. And luckily we've seen Hani go through these stretches of having some, I think some confidence stretches probably where like I'm not worried about him scoring his goals.
He'll be fine.
He'll be perfectly fine. But I do agree with you, Clay. Like I do think, having a player like Espinoza, like you do expect those numbers to rise, but you don't expect Espinoza to come in and, put in 20 goals and 20 assists. Like there's going to be some on top of Hani Mukhtar's 20 goals. Like there's going to be some takeaway there. But it shouldn't, negate the fact that it's the entire team. And speaking of the entire team, I do think it's also interesting the subs that were brought in and the way that the team kind of like, look, we knew the game was over, after the 4th goal, probably. But it was amazing and incredible to see how, like, And I think the broadcasters talked about it perfectly. You brought in players off the bench who are still competing for starting spots, and they were going out there and performing like they were competing for starting spots. I think Warren Madrigal was terrific. I think Ahmed Qasim was really, really good in his sub. And these are players that are like we've talked about multiple times in being in that starting position. What did you guys think, of the subs that did come in at the end? I thought it was extremely fun to see those guys kind of come out and perform.
I just think that Warren Madrigal finish was amazing. It's one
Yep.
of the best finishes I've seen in Geodis Park, honestly. And it was a volley, which makes it look a little nicer, right? And it was kind of bouncy, and it was just really, really nice finish. But yeah, I mean, when I saw Nashville pushing for that fifth goal, um, because the players that were brought in didn't take that opportunity slightly. And you're right. I think Clay or Steven, whichever one of you said, like, Nashville didn't look like they were out of second gear. That's true until those subs came in. And when it was Wubens and Madrigal up top, things really changed, and they were pushing really hard. And Ahmed Qasim was pushing really hard. And Matt Corcoran, I thought, had a really good 20, 30 minutes, however long he was there. So, like, it, it's BJ said this, and I might have mentioned it last week, is like, BJ said, we have to do what we're going to do. And what he has said they're going to do is play players when needed. And it's play players and give players opportunity and make this based on merit. And you can see that those players believe in that because A, they've gotten minutes recently, all of them have, and B, the door is wide open. I mean, yes, you're probably not going to start over Hani Mukhtar or Sam Surridge in the biggest game at the moment. But when Nashville went to Columbus, those two didn't start. And that's going to happen again here in a couple of weeks. So your opportunity is there. And if you score a couple of goals like Warren Madrigal did, your opportunity is gonna and if you're as flexible as Warren Madrigal, who played striker, can play on the left, played on the right, all that stuff, obviously you're gonna have more opportunities. And I think that's kind of the spirit of what BJ Callahan has been able to build. And we don't really single him out a whole lot in terms of like the good stuff he's doing. But above all the technical and tactical stuff, which he's brilliant at, I think, so far, and the results speaks for themselves, the man management skills that he has to make this team believe in his plan, his vision, and have very, very few to pretty much no issues is honestly next level. And it just showcases what type of manager he is.
Yeah, I think to kind of build off that too is perhaps even more of the proof of concept is the lineups that you saw against Miami, where Corcoran gets a start. These guys, and got starts last year against Miami as well. These are guys that are going to get their chance if they're in a good moment and they're playing well, and so they're trying to put good moments together. I do find uh, to sort of back up Valaire and to go back to the wheel truther thing. It was very funny that we all anointed it would either be Madrigal or Qasim as moving past and taking that spot. And here we are. And Alex Wheel has somehow found a way to stay in the starting 11. And it is a tough thing to grab that other spot. But I do think that it is a competition that's been very fun to watch. And I do think that the last couple times that you've seen that Qasim come in, you've started to see maybe what BJ's talked about in training coming out of like the training camp and things like that, because he's kind of unfortunate not to get a goal or assist in the game against Orlando and really showed a little bit more defensively than he's shown in previous appearances, although, because that's been one of the criticisms. And so I'm hoping that we'll see a little bit more from him and really turn that competition for that spot and another running storyline as it was last year.
Things are good, and these are all bad problems to not have going through right now. Obviously, stuff to talk about, but could not be happier with that Orlando performance and just the way that things are going. Unfortunately, we go into an international break at this time. Probably one of the only teams in MLS that doesn't want to go through an international break right now. But we're going to talk about that, see what players are involved in that, as well as just kind of talk about other stuff around MLS. And we're going to do that next right here on Pharmaceutical Soccer. And we're back here. Last segment of the show, Pharmaceutical Soccer, of course, at PharmaSoccer on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Make sure you do check out 615soccer.com. Be a part of that, as well as pharmasoccer.com for all your merch and all your fun stuff. Would love you to be a part of it. Uh, anyways, we have an international break coming up, as I discussed last segment. We do have a decent amount of Nashville representation in it as well, which is really fun to see those players getting that recognition. Valère, do you kind of want to just give us a rundown specifically on those players?
Yes.
Valère should give his international break rundown because he does not care about these games.
I didn't say
He's got
that.
one game he cares about.
There is one game in the international break, literally one, that I am going to be there for in person in Monterrey, Mexico. But follow me on social media for more updates on that, as I am preparing to put out some, as the kids say, content around that. By the way, shout out to the Nashville SC social media team for putting me in their brain ride video again. I had a bunch of messages come through of like, dude, you're in the brain ride video. And I was like, oh, this is great. Like, what did they use this time? So, I'm just gonna take my Oscar anytime. I think it's been a great run with me and brain rod videos. Would like more of them personally.
Well, hey, Nashville Soccer Club, if you're listening, there's also 2 other members on this podcast that would love to be a part of a brain rod.
It was my tweet, to be fair. It was my tweet that made it this time. Last time it was my face. So,
no one wants to be part of that more than Steven. That is way more of Steven's alley than mine.
Which is why you should put Clay on there and not me.
I'm not going to lie to you guys. As
not my vibe.
As an unk myself, I don't really understand.
I don't get it. A whole lot. I do not understand.
But I do have nephews and nieces, and they be loving brain rot. And I love it through them. And obviously, when I'm part of it,
as my wife says, almost every time that we see one of those, why?
This is why Clay is in a different generation than me, because I appreciate the sport, and Clay doesn't. Okay. International break. Reed Baker Whiting and Thomas Williams are both heading to the USMNT U21 squad. They have a couple games against Japan and South Korea. Again,
Which, by the way, obviously we don't see Thomas Williams a ton. I think it's very interesting just on signing him this season and how highly he's rated in comparison to the U21s. Obviously, you have Reed Baker Whiting in there, who we've seen a ton of. But Thomas Williams is a player that is definitely looked at, in a lot of different ways.
And to be fair, I haven't watched a whole lot of him, but from what I heard, he's almost too good for next pro. So I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing him with Nashville SC proper, but we'll wait and see. But yes, Reed Baker Whiting did sustain an injury to kind of end his shift, but BJ Callen didn't have any update for us when we asked him. The fact that he's included in the press release that went out today makes me feel like that injury is not really anything to be concerned about, because otherwise they would have probably not called him if he was carrying something. So those 2 are going to the U21. Warren Madrigal is going with Costa Rica to play a couple friendlies. Costa Rica are out of World Cup contention. Obviously, they are completely out, but they are playing in Turkey against Jordan and Iran. Really, a lot of things going on there, but so it's a long trip for Warren Madrigal, I think, all the way to Turkey, and who knows, maybe he'll come back with new hair. We'll see. Sorry.
Spoken like a man who's looked into Turkey before.
Hey, man, I've looked at flight before. I'm not ashamed to admit it. And then Ruben Pacius, who has 1 cap with the Haitian national team, has been recalled to the Haitian national team to play a couple friendlies in preparation for their historic return to the World Cup after 50-year hiatus from the tournament. And they're going to be playing Tunisia and Iceland. And then you have Xavier Valdez going in with the Dominican Republic. Now, he's played a bunch with the Dominican Republic, and he'll be playing a couple of friendlies against Cuba and El Salvador. And lastly, the one we've all kind of are almost set and pretty sure we're going to see at the World Cup is Patrick Yazbek with Australia. Now, he's only had 8 appearances with the Socceroos, which is the Australian national team nickname. I always think that's funny. but they're going to be playing Cameroon and Curacao. And he's he's kind of pushing to be a starter within that team. He's currently, playing out of his mind for Nashville SC, honestly, and been a star for this team for this season so far and at the end of last season. But he's really pushing for that starting spot. And with the World Cup being in America, I think that's going to help him out. And then obviously Australia is not one of those like juggernauts when it comes to soccer, so he has a much better chance of being there at the World Cup, and not just being there, but playing a very big part in it. Is that
Love it.
good?
Thank you so much.
Sufficient?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was great. That was a great rundown, Valer. Thank you so much for that. I hope everybody got what they needed from that. I got nothing else for the
Who are the US playing? Portugal and who's the other team? Come on, guys. You guys are the US RT fans. Come on. Wow. The World Cup is in your country. Wake up, man. Come on.
I know. I honestly need to be better about it. I've been really bad about paying attention.
Belgium and the US are playing Belgium first and Portugal after that. Saturday, March 28th is the Belgium game, and then March 31st, Portugal game at 6. So I think those are pretty exciting friendlies for the US as well, because, they're kind of higher level than we're used to seeing the US play. So, it's a friendly before the World Cup. There's literally nothing you can draw from it other than this player can run. But it's good to see the US testing themselves.
Absolutely. But we did have an MLS weekend, a very interesting MLS weekend. I think I'm really I've said it a couple times. I'm really appreciating these Sunday matches. It's a lot more fun to see more matches on Sunday because that's normally the day that I'm just relaxing and wanting to put something on TV. And that's been very nice to have more matches on Sunday. Anything stick out to you guys when it comes to MLS scores? I have a couple. One, that hype that we had for the Red Bulls is now gone. Thank you very much for completely ruining that.
If you recall correctly, my hype was not for the Red Bull, and it was for RSL kids, and they are still firing. So I just want to say,
no, I'm talking about Walker Zimmerman getting a goal for Toronto, the walk-off goal there to help them win that one against Columbus. I thought was very interesting, and one of the reasons that we are in first place right now is thank you to Miami for beating NYCFC. Anything else kind of stand out to you guys?
The biggest story is today's story about Griezmann going to Orlando. Genuinely a massive, massive star. I think that there will be more of them with the World Cup. This is one of several that we will probably see happening over the course of this season. And huge for Orlando. I don't know that it will be successful, but
I don't know where
that's the biggest story.
Yeah, I don't know where he fits. I'm sure they'll find a spot for him. It's obviously Antoine.
I'm sure Orlando's getting some calls on some of their players today.
Right, absolutely. And they should probably hire a coach too that knows specifically where, because they're still on an interim coach, right?
Yes.
Maybe they'll make Griezmann player coach.
That's what they should do. I just can't wait for all the weird Antoine Griezmann content because he's a pretty strange guy and
he's a weird one.
Yeah, he's just a guy who just says things sometimes in interviews. So I'm just excited for that. The last thing,
maybe they should hire Diego Forlan.
Yeah,
because Griezmann's got this weird Uruguayan thing going.
Is Diego Forlan coaching, or are you just saying
he is?
He is.
I just checked.
Isn't he coaching? I thought he was coaching a women's team.
I don't know, but he's a manager somewhere.
Now that's a
Phil
guy.
Neville was coaching a women's team at one point. So hey,
if you want a good time, Google Diego Forlan 2010 World Cup goals, because man, he loved that ball. You know that, what was it called? Jabulani, whatever the ball was called for the South Africa.
Jabulani.
Yeah. Man, he loved that ball. He striked that like he hated it, but he loved it. He loved it a lot.
Shout out to Shabalala while you're doing that. And then
man. I wrote about him a bunch for kickback stuff. Anyway, last thing I want to say about MLS is that you're starting to see the Champions Cup wear and tear on teams, especially when you look at San Diego, who are a good team. We know they're a good team, but they're starting to draw points, are getting red cards. There's a lot of fatigue within the club. And that's where the depth comes in. And that's where Nashville's depth and I would say LAFC depth, but LAFC manager Marco Dos Santos just refuses to rotate his side, so he's just running them into the ground. But there are three undefeated teams in the league: Nashville, San Diego, and LAFC. LAFC and Nashville are also undefeated in all comps. San Diego lost one game in the Champions Cup, and they're out of it. So that's where we are with MLS right now. It's a nice international break currently, and then we'll see where we go from there. But I don't think there's anything else to cover. What do you want to predict, Steven?
Huh. I don't know. Well, okay. So
Should we
we've talked.
predict how many drinks Valer has next week?
No, I'm actually gonna put Valer on the spot for this, because I think it'll be good. We've talked about it. Valer is going to Monterrey, Mexico next week, to watch his Iraqi national team play in the playoff to try to make it to the World Cup. So there's a possibility Valer is not on the show next week, and it's an international break. So we're going to try to probably do something fun, but we're also hoping Valer does randomly join us next week. But if he doesn't, we may not have this opportunity to talk to him about it. Valer, how are you feeling right now? Like in terms of A, how are you feeling? Are you excited? And then go into your plug-in prediction. Does the Iraqi national team make it through to the World Cup?
Yeah, so I'm very excited. I have never seen the Iraqi national team play. I left Iraq when I was 12, and pretty much in all 12 years I lived in Iraq, we were banned from playing at home. So it's not like I had an opportunity to play to watch Iraq play, but even if they were to play there, I probably wouldn't have gone as like a 2-year-old, obviously, or whatever. So when I left when I was 12, obviously the Iraqi national team is like big for me, and I'll have a video about that. So make sure you're following me. There you go. There's the plug for you. Yeah, so I'm feeling really excited to see them for the first time ever. There's going to be a good amount of Iraqi diaspora folks who are either US and Canada and Europe coming in and going to Mexico. Unfortunately, a lot of Iraqis can't make it to Mexico if they live in Iraq or in the Middle East. It's a little hard with the war going on at the moment and very expensive, obviously, aside from the war. But all in all, very excited about it. I think it would be. Hmm. Yeah, I don't think I can predict anything other than Iraq win. I think that I just cannot do it. I can't bring myself to do it. I'm going in. Do I have confidence in the team to do it? Absolutely not. I have zero confidence in anything and anyone currently. But I have to predict that my team is going to win because this is the team I am the least rational on, and I am pretty rational when it comes to Arsenal. Let me be honest with you guys, but I am way more way less rational when it comes to Iraq. It's purely just emotions and yeah. So we're gonna play the winner of Bolivia and Suriname. So depending on who that is, we'll see who the match is against. And yeah, should be a good time for me at least.
Now, the question I have is what's the latest on the how Iran would affect Iraq's place?
So it looks like Iran are on their way to be in the World Cup based on kind of what's going on. Um, if this is the thing. It's crazy because if Iran doesn't go, then that spot either goes to Iraq or the UAE. If that happens, but who gets Iran's group? Because that's a big part of this, right? Because Iraq's group is the group of death with Holland, Mbappe, and Senegal, who just won the AFCON, who kind of didn't win AFCON, whatever. But Iran's group is way more doable because it has like Egypt, I think. It's couple other teams. I can't remember. Maybe Australia or New Zealand, one of the two. So it's like, it's not murderer's row to where Iraq's group is murderer's row. So I don't know. If Iran doesn't go, it's going to be kind of up to FIFA, whatever they decide. Things are looking like Iran will probably participate. They're using it both sides are using it as some sort of a weapon, obviously, in a lot of ways of whether or not Iran will participate. But they said they're not going to. Then they said they kind of are thinking about it. They're playing these friendlies. One of them against Costa Rica and Warren Madrigal. So I honestly can't tell you. It's. I don't think they can even tell you. So that's where we're at right now.
Clay, do you have a prediction for Valer's trip?
I predict that Valère will be wildly drunk at least one of those nights.
Over under on tacos, though. I don't know. I'm gonna smash the over on that for sure. Yeah. I don't even need a number. I'm just gonna eat a lot of tacos.
Yeah,
It's not.
Monterey, the flour tortillas. I know you'll be all over those.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
the Spanish that I made you learn in the Dominican when we were there is going to help you a ton when you're in Monterey, let me tell you.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've improved in my Spanish skills since that trip, but I also don't know why I would say that. Like, I don't know. When
I feel like you're gonna be speaking more Arabic than Spanish while you're there.
very much possible.
Thank you guys so much for listening to the show. I'm going to predict good things for Valère. I think they're going through. So I'm going
Thank
to
you,
predict
buddy.
good things for Valère. And I hope you have a lovely time. Again, Pharmaceutical Soccer, thank you so much for listening to us. Obviously, there's an international break next week, but we will still be here. In what capacity, we will figure that out. But we're going to go through that. Thank you so much again for listening. We will talk to you next week.